So we're going to add on period. And what this means is what happens when b is not equal to 1. So remember, we did questions where b was equal to 1, right? So what happens to the phase shifting when b is not equal to 1? And that's what we're going to take a look at. So when there's a number in front of the x, you see there's a half right there. On these other examples, it was equal to 1. So what do we do when it's not equal to 1? Okay, so it seems like it's a little bit harder, but it's really not. It's just one additional step. So let's just go over what a period is. A period is the distance between each repeating wave of the function. So maximum to maximum, okay? That's a period. And these are the two formulas that you're going to use. One is for period and one is for finding b. So remember, to find b, the number in front of x. This is a listening check, shade in period in the title. So let's calculate period. Period is 5 pi minus pi, right? The end to the beginning, which is equal to 4 pi. So if I wanted to find b, I would say 2 pi over the period, which is 4 pi. That crosses out. 2 divided by 4 is a half. So the number in front of b for this graph would be a half. All right, again, let's do a quick little review on everything we have. So we have the original function, and the dashed line is our new function. And from there, we could write a possible value for an equation. So what happened to it? What's the midline? So the midline goes from 0, right? And the amplitude goes from 1. It changes. This is the new graph. What is the new midline? So you can use your pencil if you need to. Remember, the midline is the middle. So take your pencil, and I'm going to use a ruler because it's a little bit less thick, right? And you want to find the middle of it. So if I put a line here, does the top part look as high as the bottom? No. So I'll move it down 1. Let's see, top and the bottom, they look pretty the same. So 2 boxes on top, 2 boxes on the bottom, that's the middle. So negative y equals -1, because remember the midline is an equation, right? So it looks like the amplitude, right, is going to be 2, because it's 2 boxes away, right? 2 boxes up to each minimum or maximum. Okay, so this is a possible equation, because you could either reflect it or you can move it. So we're going to take a look at it like it's a reflection. So if it is a reflection, yes, it did reflect, so yes. So I'm going to put that negative right there. I'm going to fill in what I know. What do I know? Amplitude is 2, that number goes there, and -1 goes there. Okay, I do need to find out what my period is. So remember, from the formula that is given, period is 2 pi over b, or b is 2 pi over your period. It depends what you're looking for. Right now, I don't have my space in b, so I'm going to use my period to find it. So let's find my period, which is 3 pi minus 3 pi over 5. This is a period, right? Minimum to minimum is a period. All right, so when I do that, I have to make the fractions the same. So I multiply by 5 and divide by 5. That's going to give me 15 pi over 5 minus 3 pi over 5. Now I can subtract them. Can't subtract or add until the denominator is the same. So now that they're the same, I subtract. So 12 pi over 5. That's my period. So remember, I can use my period to find the number b. So what is b? b is 2 pi over my period, which is 12 pi over 5. And again, you keep, change, flip. So keep, change, and flip it. All right, go ahead and cross that out. We can simplify 2 and 12. And we're going to get 5 over 6. So b is equal to 5 over 6. So we can put that number right there. And that's pretty much it. All right, so we're not looking at a phase shift right now. We decided to go with the reflection. So it's a possible equation. All right, it's going to seem a little bit complicated, but bear with me. Try and really pay attention, okay? So let's start with everything we know. A negative is what? A reflection. So yes, it's going to reflect over x. Okay, what is -4 at the end do? That's a midline, right? Y equals -4, brings it down 4. What's the amplitude? There's an invisible 1. Really, it's a -1, but when you take the absolute value. So remember, with the phase shift, b must be equal to 1, but it's not equal to 1. So let's write some additional notes so that you know what to do when it's not equal to 1. So if b is not equal to 1, all right, it affects the phase shift. So go ahead and write that down right there. All right, what you're going to do is you're going to write out your equation in standard form by factoring the number with b. All right, so write out your equation in standard form by factoring the number with b. All right, so let's take a look at what is with b, 1/2. So we're going to take that outside. So we're going to have negative sign, and then we're going to take 1/2 outside. What is left when you divide by half? So it's going to have theta right there. What's 1/4 divided by half? And again, I'm going to show you because this is things you should know. So 1/4 divided by half is keep, change, flip. Go ahead and simplify. So you're going to get 1/2. So that's going to leave inside pi over 4, -4. Everything else stays the same. Remember, this only affects the phase shift. So when we talk about the phase shift, you first have to make sure b is equal to 1. Very, very important. All right, so now that we have that, it looks like it's plus pi over 2. What does that mean? Left pi over 2. left 90 degrees. All right, let's take a look at a period. Remember, to find our period, we can use the two formulas we have. So we're looking for period, it's 2 pi over b. So period is 2 pi over b. This is a listening check, color in 2 pi over b. All right, now that we have that, b is 1/2, so keep, change, flip. Simplify. So your period is equal to 4 pi. All right, so think about that for a second. We're looking at sine, right? You have to know what a sine graph looks like. Starts at the origin, goes to, these are the quadrilateral angles. It goes to 1, and then negative, and then to 0, then -1, then back to 0. And that's one period for sine. And the period for cosine is also 2 pi. So remember, a period is how long the wave takes to repeat, right? So here's a negative side, so let me do it. There's one, there's another. That's how long it takes to repeat. So every 2 pi, you're going to see the exact same wave. That's what a period is. So now the period goes from 2 pi to 4 pi. So what did it do? It doubled. So sine is normally 2 pi, but now it's 4 pi, which is double. Think about what that means for a second. You're going to take this wave and stretch it in the x direction, twice as much. So this part right here, that part is going to be twice as much. It's going to go from pi to 2 pi. So just that top part is going to look like this. And before I do that, pi over 2 stretched twice is also going to be, it's going to go to pi, right? Pi over 2 times 2 is pi. So that wave becomes that. And it's going to mirror it on the same part. So this part is going to stretch out to 2 pi. And it doesn't pass -1 and 1. Okay, so I started with the period earlier. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. I just started with that because I wanted to make the graph easier. All right, now I'm going to do left pi over 2. And at the same time, I'm also going to reflect it because you want to limit how many times you write it down. I'm only really trying to write it down so you can see. So again, stay with me. I'm going to move it left pi over 2, and I'm also going to flip it over the x-axis. So I take each point. Pi over 2, notice, is 4 boxes. So I'm going to take each point, move it 4 boxes, and then flip it over the x-axis. So that's off the page. 4 boxes right there. Flip it over the x-axis. So that point goes up there. Next point at 0. 4 boxes to the left, and flip it over the x-axis. Well, if it's at 0, it doesn't flip. Next point, 4 boxes to the left, flip it over the x-axis. Boom. 4 boxes to the left, flip it over the x-axis. That doesn't flip. So my green, and then you can extend the line in both directions because obviously it keeps going. It is a repeating wave. All right, I'm going to color this in so I can keep track of which graph was what color. So green was those two, and purple was just my period. Okay, so what else do I have left? Midline and amplitude. You know this. We practice this a lot. All right, so let's go ahead. Amplitude is 1. So what is that going to do? Nothing, because when you multiply 1 by 1, it's still going to be 1. So it's not really going to change anything. So the amplitude doesn't change. But your midline is now y equals -4. So I'm going to go ahead and signify it by doing that color. And I'm just going to bring the graph down to -4 because my amplitude doesn't do anything. I start with my zeros. I always start with my zeros because that's easier. And then I look at each point and I do how many above the midline is it. So that's 1 box above the midline. So I need to put 1 box above. This one's 1 below, 1 box below. So if the midline was, 3, it would be 3 boxes below and 3 boxes above. This is a listening check. Put a box around example 4. And that's pretty much it. So let's practice.